Hello guys and welcome back to the Python series for beginners. In this video we're going to discuss what are lists and tuples or tuples. So if you haven't checked out my previous videos, make sure to check them out to basically understand what I'm going to talk about in this video. So with that said, let's get started. So here I've done just a basic program that if you run just prints out apple, banana and strawberry, and it took up 6 lines just to do that. Now we can make it much shorter, like 2 lines only. How do I do that? It's simple. So we don't need all of these, and we're gonna first create a list. So first let's start with the syntax, and then I'm gonna explain what this does. So we're gonna create a variable called fruits. Or set it equal to, and then we use square brackets for this one, and maybe type apple, banana, and then strawberry. Okay, so this over here what I created is a list. So a list is basically a data type, just like integers and strings, and a list is simply can fit like multiple data types together. So it's not only strings, it's also like maybe numbers like 8. So here I fitted like strings and integers in here, and whenever you want to add something to the list, like if you want to separate two data types from the list, make sure you separate it by a comma. That's how it's done in lists. And you can put a data type just like any data type, so you can put strings, integers, floats. So let's add a float while we're here, maybe 3.4. Leave some space here. And yeah, so you can add any data type into this string, this list. And then you can go ahead and print the variable fruits. And if you run the program, you see it prints out the whole list, but this time it is different than before. So remember when you were actually printing out, okay, so let's comment this out, and then I will show you what I mean. So remember when we were creating like a variable and then just assigning it to like one string, say apples maybe, and then print out apples. You see it prints out apples without any brackets or any strings or something like that. But it's different when it comes to lists. When it comes to lists, it prints out everything exactly from the syntax. So it prints out the square brackets, the quotation marks, or the quotes, and it also prints out the commas, really. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And now that we know what are lists, let's talk about how we can add something to a list. So you have a list here. Let's remove those. You have a list here consisting of 3 fruits. And then you want to add maybe one more fruit. So how do you do that? Now before we talk about this, first I want to point out about the indices or the indexes of the items in a list. So anything in a list is called items. Now a computer starts counting from 0 always. So what this means is that apple has an indice of 0, banana has an indice of 1, and strawberry has an indice of 2. So this is something to keep in mind when coding lists and stuff, when dealing with lists, that computers always start counting from 0 and not 1. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started, or let me show you how to add lists or add something to a list. Okay, so the way you actually add lists is that you use something called a method. Now we're gonna talk about methods more later on, but for now just know that anything that has like a dot and then after it's something, so we're gonna talk about this now. It's a method. So for example, now I'm gonna show you how to add a list with examples. So for example, we're gonna grab the name of the list, so fruits in this case, and then we're gonna do dot append, which means that append is a method. And then we're gonna type here what we want to append. So append just means add. And we're gonna type here what we want to add. So in our case, we want to add maybe pair. So we just type pair in here. And when you run it, it's automatically gonna add it at the end, but just because we didn't print it out again, so let's print out oops, like this. And then if you run it, you see that it prints two lists. This is the original list that we created before, and this is the list that we added the new fruit to. Okay, so this is basically how you add something to the list. Now we're going to talk about how to change something to a list, in the list. Okay, so what we're going to do to change something in a list is, we don't need that right now. So say we just want to change banana right now into something else. Say I want to like change it to pears. So what you do is you type fruits, and then in square brackets you type the indices of something you want to change. Remember, a computer starts counting from 0, so this one is 0, has an indice of 0. This one's 1 and this one's 2. So here we want to type 1 because we want to change banana. And then after that, we're going to set it equal to a specific string. So say you want to change it to pair, so we'll type pair. And then yes, we'll print it out 2 times, the original one and also the new one. So if you run the code, you see here the first list has banana in it along with the others, but the second list has pear instead of banana along with the others. And yeah, so this is how simple it can get on changing things in a list. So now we're going to talk about tuples or tuples. So we're not going to talk about them really a lot, but what tuples are basically are, they're just used for like location, position, coordinates, colors, this kind of stuff. And they're basically written like this. So if you want to say pos standing for position equals, and then just type maybe 2, 3, like this. And as you can see, it actually looks like a list, but it uses the normal brackets that we always use. And yeah, so this is how a tuple looks like. Now, if I run the code right now, it will not really display it on the screen because we didn't really print it out. But we don't want to print it out. Let's print the type of it just to check that it's a tuple. So print the type of position. You can see that it says it's a tuple or tuple. Now, if you also try the same with list, so okay, you see that it actually says it's a list. So these are also data types. Tuple is also a data type. And sorry for the wrong pronunciation of tuples if it is wrong, because I don't really know how it's pronounced. But yeah, so this is gonna round it up for today's video. I hope you learned what are lists and tuples. If you have any questions, or if you have any questions, be sure to comment down below, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.